In the year 476, the Western Roman Empire fell. The eternal city of Rome, once the heart of the greatest civilization the world had known, was consumed by barbarian conquest. But Rome did not truly die. 1,000 miles to the east, on the shores of the Bosphorus, a second Rome endured, wealthier, more powerful, and more resilient than anyone could have imagined. This was Constantinople. This was the Byzantine Empire. And for over 1,000 years, it would stand as the last bastion of Roman civilization, surviving invasions, plagues, religious schisms, and relentless siege, until the day the walls finally broke. This is the story of the rise and fall of the Byzantine Empire. To understand how Byzantium came to be, we must return to the crisis that nearly destroyed Rome in the 3rd century. By the year 284, the Roman Empire had endured decades of civil war, economic collapse, and invasion from every direction. Emperor Diocletian divided the empire into eastern and western halves, each governed by its own ruler, hoping that shared power would bring stability. It didn't last, but the division planted a seed. In 330 AD, Emperor Constantine the Great made a decision that would reshape the world. He moved the capital of the Roman Empire east to the ancient Greek city of Byzantion on the narrow strait where Europe meets Asia. He renamed it Constantinople, the city of Constantine, and built it to rival Rome itself. Massive walls encircled it. Grand churches rose above its skyline. A hippodrome roared with chariot races and public spectacle. Constantinople was designed to be eternal. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476, the eastern half simply continued. There was no dramatic break, no announcement of a new empire. The people of Constantinople still called themselves Romans. Their emperor still held the title Caesar. Their laws were Roman laws. Their armies marched under Roman eagles. To the outside world, Rome had not fallen. It had simply moved. The Byzantine Empire reached its first golden age under Emperor Justinian I, who came to power in 527. Justinian was one of history's most ambitious rulers. He dreamed of restoring the full Roman Empire, and he nearly did it. His brilliant general, Belisarius, reconquered North Africa from the Vandals, retook Italy from the Ostrogoths, and seized parts of Spain. For a brief, shining moment, the Mediterranean was once again a Roman lake. But Justinian's legacy extended far beyond the battlefield. He ordered the construction of the Hagia Sophia, a cathedral so vast, so impossibly beautiful, that it would remain the largest enclosed space on Earth for nearly 1,000 years. Its massive dome seemed to float above the ground, and visitors described the light streaming through its windows as though heaven itself were pouring in. To this day, the Hagia Sophia stands as one of the greatest architectural achievements in human history. Justinian also commissioned the Corpus Juris Civilis, a complete codification of Roman law that would become the foundation of legal systems across Europe and beyond. Western civilization owes an immeasurable debt to this single act of preservation. Without Byzantium, Roman law might have been lost forever.
But greatness came at a terrible price. In 541, the plague of Justinian struck Constantinople. It was one of the deadliest pandemics in recorded history, killing an estimated 25 to 50 million people across the empire. The population of Constantinople alone was cut nearly in half. Justinian himself contracted the plague, but survived. His empire, however, was permanently weakened. The territories he had fought so hard to reclaim began slipping away almost immediately after his death in 565. For the next several centuries, the Byzantine Empire fought a war of survival on every front. From the east came the armies of the Sassanid Persians, ancient rivals who had battled Rome for generations. The two empires nearly destroyed each other in a devastating war that lasted from 602 to 628. Emperor Heraclius finally defeated the Persians, but both empires were left utterly exhausted. And then, from the deserts of Arabia, came a force that no one had predicted. In the 630s, the armies of Islam swept across the Middle East with astonishing speed. Within a single generation, the Byzantines lost Egypt, Syria, Palestine, and North Africa, provinces that had been Roman for 700 years. The empire was reduced to Anatolia, Greece, and a few scattered outposts. It seemed only a matter of time before Constantinople itself would fall. But Constantinople refused to die. In 674 and again in 717, massive Arab fleets besieged the city. Both times, the Byzantines unleashed their secret weapon, Greek fire. This mysterious incendiary liquid, launched from bronze tubes mounted on warships, burned on water and could not be extinguished. Its exact formula remains unknown to this day. The Arab fleets were annihilated. Constantinople survived. The empire entered a second golden age under the Macedonian dynasty, beginning in the mid-9th century. Under emperors like Basil I, Leo VI, and the legendary warrior emperor Basil II, the Byzantine Empire once again became the dominant power of the Eastern Mediterranean. Basil II earned the fearsome title Bulgar Slayer after his crushing defeat of the Bulgarian Empire in 1014. According to legend, he blinded 15,000 Bulgarian prisoners, leaving one eye to every 100th man so they could lead their comrades home. When the Bulgarian Tsar Samuel saw his broken army returning, he collapsed and died of shock. During this golden age, Constantinople was the wealthiest and most sophisticated city on earth. Its population reached nearly 500,000. Its markets overflowed with silk, spices, gold, and goods from China to Scandinavia. Its scholars preserved the texts of ancient Greece, Plato, Aristotle, Homer, that would otherwise have been lost to history. When the rest of Europe languished in the so-called Dark Ages, Constantinople was a beacon of learning, culture, and civilization. But the seeds of decline were already planted. In 1054, the Great Schism permanently split Christianity into the Roman Catholic Church of the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church of Byzantium. This was not merely a theological dispute. It was a geopolitical fracture that turned former allies into rivals. The Christian kingdoms of Western Europe would never again see Constantinople as one of their own.
The catastrophe came in 1071 at the Battle of Manzikert. A massive Seljuk Turkish army crushed the Byzantine forces and captured Emperor Romanos IV. The defeat opened the gates of Anatolia, the empire's heartland, its breadbasket, its primary source of soldiers, to Turkish settlement. Within a generation, most of Anatolia was lost. The empire would never recover it. Desperate for help, Emperor Alexios I appealed to the Pope in Rome. He asked for mercenaries. What he got instead was the Crusades. In 1096, tens of thousands of Western European knights and soldiers poured through Byzantine territory on their way to the Holy Land. They were supposed to be allies. They were anything but. The relationship between Byzantium and the Crusaders deteriorated with every passing decade. Western Christians viewed the Byzantines with suspicion and greed. The Byzantines saw the Crusaders as barely civilized barbarians occupying their former lands. The tension finally exploded in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade. Instead of attacking Muslim-held Jerusalem, the Crusader army turned on Constantinople itself. The sack of Constantinople in 1204 was one of the great atrocities of the medieval world. For 3 days, Crusader soldiers looted, burned and destroyed the city that had been the guardian of civilization for 9 centuries. Libraries were torched, churches were desecrated, priceless relics and artworks were stolen or smashed. The Venetians stripped the hippodrome of its ancient bronze horses and shipped them back to Venice, where they sit atop St. Mark's Basilica to this day. The Byzantines eventually recaptured Constantinople in 1261 under Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos. But the empire that emerged was a shadow of its former self, stripped of wealth, territory, and military strength. For the next 2 centuries, it slowly withered. Province after province fell to the Ottoman Turks, who had risen from a small Anatolian principality to become the dominant power in the region. By 1453, the Byzantine Empire had been reduced to Constantinople itself and a few fragments of territory. The great city that had once commanded the eastern Mediterranean was surrounded on all sides by Ottoman territory. Its population had dwindled from 500,000 to barely 50,000. Its walls, once the most formidable fortifications on earth, were crumbling. On April 6, 1453, Sultan Mehmed II, just 21 years old, arrived before Constantinople with an army of 80,000 men and the largest cannon the world had ever seen. Emperor Constantine XI, the last Roman emperor, had fewer than 7,000 defenders, but he refused to surrender. He reportedly told his people, "This city is our home and we will defend it to the last." The siege lasted 53 days. Mehmed's massive cannons pounded the ancient walls. His engineers dug tunnels beneath them. He even dragged 70 ships overland on greased logs to bypass the chain that blocked the Golden Horn Harbor, one of the most audacious military maneuvers in history. On May 29, 1453, the Ottomans broke through. Emperor Constantine XI reportedly threw off his imperial regalia, drew his sword, and charged into the oncoming wave of Ottoman soldiers. His body was never identified. The last Roman emperor died as a soldier, defending the walls of his city. Constantinople fell. The Hagia Sophia became a mosque. The Roman Empire, in every form it had ever taken, was finally, irrevocably over. It had endured in one form or another for nearly 2,200 years. No empire in the history of the world has lasted longer. But the legacy of Byzantium did not die with Constantinople. The scholars who fled the falling city carried with them the texts of ancient Greece and Rome, the works of Plato, Aristotle, Euclid, and countless others. They brought these treasures to Italy, where they ignited the Renaissance. The rebirth of Western civilization was built, in no small part, on the ashes of Byzantium. The Byzantine Empire preserved Roman law, Greek philosophy, and Christian theology through a millennium when all three might have been lost. It shielded Europe from invasion after invasion. It gave the world the Hagia Sophia, the Justinian Code, and the very idea that civilization could endure through darkness. Every throne is built on ambition. Every tide of change is unstoppable. But some legacies outlast even the mightiest walls. Byzantium fell, but what it saved lives on forever.